Is Bill on the island now? Yeah, I think I met him. Is he a lawyer? Okay. What? Yes. Yeah. Can you log in? Councillor McLeod, all logged in? You're all logged in, guys? That's all? Good. Is it sharpened? Hey, Councillor Duff, you logged in? Okay. Just before we call to order, last week, I think it was last week, Councillor Duffy, we were at the town council, and Norman Hall talked about a Sylvia Longafe, who lives down in Upper Prince, Ward 4, and all the work that she does around the city, just picking up garbage. You might see her in around town, but she's always carrying a bag with her and picking up garbage wherever she walks. So I just wanted to thank her on behalf of City Council, and we will send her a note of thanks. Yeah, can you stand up?
I think we need to do a little more than that.
Yeah.
I think what we need to do is, this lady, regardless of how old she is, does an incredible work for our neighborhoods and communities. She's taken upon herself, if you find the word, community interest or community commitment, Sylvia's taken it to another level. And I think what she's done is, by going out and doing this on her own, teaches us every day how important these neighborhoods and communities are and the cleanliness of our city. I think what we need to do is we need to, I don't want to use the word reception, but I think we need to recognize all of her efforts. And since Norman brought it to our attention, he's talked about this before, maybe we can invite her to City Hall.
Yep.
And do a special presentation. I would suggest doing a special presentation. This lady goes morning, noon, and night, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
We'll do that, sir.
So she's set the benchmark.
I'll speak to our administrative assistant, Jill Stewart, to put something together and bring it to the next council, regular monthly meeting. And just another issue. I know cell phones are really part of our everyday life, but if we can just try to keep the cell phone texting down to a minimum, it's just so that we can stay focused and respectful to the other councillors and the viewing audience, from whether it's the gallery or from on camera. I know we're taking messages, we're sending messages, but it's just to keep the focus on what we're doing here in the chamber. And I want to present this to you. It was dropped off to us by a gentleman I'm going to read about, and it's not me that did this. It's Kids Cancer Connection, Prince Edward Island, Canada. It's from a group of kids in LA, Los Angeles, California, and it's called Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Canadian Cancer Society and Kids Cancer Connection report cancer is the leading cause of death by disease among Canadian children between infancy and age 14. An estimated 2/3 of childhood cancer survivors will have at least one chronic or long-term side effect from their cancer treatment. As more children survive cancer, the need for long-term monitoring and follow-up care will continue to grow. This organization was founded over 15 years ago by Stephen Firestein, a member of a philanthropic Max Factor Cosmetics family, Kids Cancer Connection, Inc., and it is dedicated to helping these children and their families. Kids Cancer Connection provides a variety of vital, patient psychosocial services to children and undergoing cancer treatment at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, as well as participating hospitals throughout the country, thereby enhancing the quality of life of these children and their families. Kids Cancer Connection also sponsors toy distributions, family sailing programs, pet-assisted therapy, KCC Supercar Experience educational programs, and hospital celebrations in honor of a child's determination and bravery to fight the battle against childhood cancer. So we're just going to pass that back to him by acknowledging his efforts, and we're acknowledging it here just today by it's not a proclamation, I just wanted to make you known of the fact of this organization. I know some families that have gone through this experience. I would never want to live it myself, and my heart and my blessings go out to those families and children that have to live with cancer. And if I could just ask Councillor Tweel if you want to advise and just give a bit of a notice, or not a notice, but some background on what you're going to say, and please just keep it to a point.
Your worship, members of council, as we know, we had a fellow colleague pass away just recently, and I wanted to get up and just say a few words on behalf of Danny Redmond. Danny Redmond served in this chamber for 4 terms, and I can tell you, Danny Redmond was a very well respected city councillor, very respected by his community, put his heart and soul into his community. And there wasn't a phone call that was never returned, an email that wasn't answered, or an event that took place in that district, Ward 2, that he wasn't proud to represent. I talked about, when I did an interview, brief interview with Dave Stewart, Danny brought back Brookdale days, something he really believed in, and he wanted to rekindle that community spirit, which he did to perfection. That was the impetus, and that was the incentive of the mayor and council to go ahead and have socials, senior socials and socials throughout the city. There was bingo, there was live entertainment, hot dogs and other mussels and everything else, and he worked with the constituents in the community. Terry McLeod was one of them. And one thing about Danny is, as an employee with Canadian Mental Health, he always made sure that they were involved. Always made sure that they were involved. He would arrange for the transportation, Canadian Mental Health in Fitzroy Street, to go to Spring Lane, where the event was taking place. Always wanted to make sure that they were involved, not overlooked, and be a major part of that event. There's so many things I could say about Danny. I've known him my whole life. Played football together, Colonel Gray. And there's no one that hit harder. There was no one that was more determined. And that's why there were so many championship teams at Colonel Gray, was because of Danny Redmond, because of his commitment and his drive and determination. We were through a lot of battles together. I never thought I'd be here talking about the passing of Danny Redmond, because I still haven't gotten over it. I don't know. I can't get my head around the passing of this great man, who I have a great deal of respect for, him and his wife and his children and his family. I ask the council for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Well, Councillor Creel, I really appreciate that, and I knew Danny for 50 years too, and anyways, it's sad to see his passing, but he fought the battle and now he's gone to heaven.
I do one other thing. I want to dedicate my next year as a member of City Council in honor of Danny Redmond. So I want to do that, and I want to do it with a lot of pride and a lot of respect for Danny and everything that he stood for.
Thank you, sir. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Okay. Approval of the agenda.
Would like to make one change there, Your Worship.
Yes. Yes, sir.
On the Council Advisory Committee, the notion of motion to amend the procedural bylaw will be not on this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Rivard.
Thank you, Your Worship. As everyone can see on their desk, there's a text amendment to the zoning and development bylaw dealing with subdivision of duplex lots. If no one's opposed tonight, I'd like to add that text amendment to the report, along with a number of others, along with the other zoning bylaw text amendments, that are to be forwarded to a public meeting later this month.
Okay.
I have a
Councillor Duran.
I have conflict in number 2 in planning.
Yes. You'll know how to get up and leave and just go out that side door
Perfect, thank you.
and close it behind you.
All right, thanks.
The chief can close those doors in front and in the back there. Any other changes? Okay. You get the minutes from the regular monthly meeting September 9th, 2019, special meetings, open minutes September 20th, 6, October 1st. Motion by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Duffy. All those in favor? Okay. Business arising out of the minutes. Oh, business arising. Okay. So reports of committees. Councillor Rivard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Planning Board met on Monday, October 7th. Copy of the Planning Board minutes are in your package. The Heritage Board met on Monday, September 30th, and again, the minutes are in your package. And the Design Review met Monday, September 23rd, as well as October 10th. And again, the minutes are in your package. We have 12 resolutions for consideration from planning tonight. It's going to be busy, so hopefully we can fly through them. And that's it. So if anybody has any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Any questions on the minutes? So, Kelly, you want to go with the first resolution? Is it? Just wanna make sure everybody's on the package. Go ahead, sir.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Barr, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that pursuant to the provisions of the Municipal Government Act, RSPEI 1988, Cap M-12.1, and Section 3 of the City of Charlottetown, with respect to the restoration of secondary and garden suites, Council hereby appoints Ellen Fay Kenten as the registrar and Robert Stubbert as the designated registrar to administer provisions of the secondary and garden suites registration bylaw PHSSB.1, and that this designation of authority shall cease if the job duties of these employees no longer require the designation, if any of these employees terminates employment with the City of Charlottetown or upon further written notice.
Questions? No? Vote, just everybody is log in and check out in favor or opposed.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Bard, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to amend Appendix
Peter.
A.
Just 1 second.
Is this the right one?
No.
No, it's not the right one.
Let's not go ahead. Okay. Sorry.
That the request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan from low density residential to medium density residential, And B, amend Appendix G zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from single detached to residential zone to the medium density residential zone for the property located at 68 Brashley Point Road, PID 396713, in order to construct a 2-townhouse dwelling containing a total of 14 units be approved to proceed to public consultation.
Councilor McKay.
Thank you. I just wondered if we could maybe defer this application until we did get the site plan that went to the police, fire, and public works on September 25th. There was no comment sent back yet. The thing is, in May of 2008, this property was requested for rezone, and at that time, the sight line was indicated as an issue. And I'm thinking, why are we gonna go to public consultation at this time if sightline is still going to be an issue on this property? And if we could defer this application until we hear back, is that a possibility?
Councilor Bird, what do you think?
Doesn't matter what I think. No, I'm just joking. So I guess my question around the deferral is, again, and I'll defer this to Alex, but I'm not sure if the traffic studies normally come as part of the rezoning itself or down the path as opposed to this premature. I don't think we've ever done a traffic study or had that kind of stuff done prior to, but I'll let Mr. Forbes answer it.
Forbes.
To the council to the question, what you can do is that you can allow, because first we don't know what the public are gonna think, and you can read something into that public meeting. If you feel that it's gonna move on, in the interim, we can be working with the applicant to ensure that that's done. You will have the opportunity, when it comes up to send it to first reading, and hopefully by that time, that question should be answered. And if it's not, you could then hold your position and ask your colleagues to defer first reading until that has completed.
Yeah, so this is just going to public consultation, Councilor.
Right, and if it's not seemingly being very well received by the public, then you can avoid the spending of money on the traffic study because you may not get that far.
Yeah, just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no, it's a good point to raise. He's ready to vote? Okay. Councilor Twill? Councilor McLeod? Going to public consultation?
So we're not deferring it?
No.
That's it?
You reading it? You want to vote on it, or you want to, in favor or opposed? All this is going to a public consultation, right, Councilor Rivard?
I'm a big believer.
You're a big boy, okay. Okay, sir.
This one, Councilor Drawn, you're stepping away from the next one.
Yeah.
Moved by Councilor Baird, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to operate a home occupation dog grooming business from a portion of the dwelling located at 17 Tarmac Avenue, PID 392878 be approved.
Questions, Colin? Questions, Colin? So it went 9-0.
Councilor Baird, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to reduce the minimum lot area requirement from .50 acres to approximately .34 acres in order to construct a garden suite on the property located at 33 Bulger Drive, PID 492579 be approved.
Councilor McLeod.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. At this time, I would just clearly want to make it quite clear that I would be voting no on this one. I have grave concerns the water issue that's there between the two properties. I think it's time that planning has more time to look at, if we decide to go down the road of going from half an acre down smaller, that there are other things to consider. Like, I know it was referred to as a double-car garage, but we all know that when you have a tenant that you can't get rid of, it makes life pretty miserable for everybody, and including the neighbors. So when we're starting to shrink this in, I think we really need to look at that, and let's face it, planning staff did not recommend this. You know, there's a major water consultation would have to be done on this, and furthermore, then the city could look at other properties that we're thinking about going down to that lot, is to make sure that these types of things won't hinder other people around them. I think it's, you know, when you first think about it, well, it's not going to bother me, you know, but next spring from snow or whatever the issue might be, you're saying then it's too late, right? So I think we really need to make sure that people's privacy is protected when we go to shrink these garden suites down into smaller lots. So if I'll be supporting no, and I hope council does as well. Thank you.
Any other opinions? No? Councilor Rivera, you're all right?
Yeah, I have nothing to add, Your Worship.
Question called.
You called the question?
I did, sir.
Okay, sir. Three in favor?
Your worship, moved by Councilor Rivera, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to increase the maximum building height requirement for the existing single detached dwelling from 39.4 feet to approximately 48.83 feet in order to bring the existing single detached dwelling located at 50 King Street, PID 335687, in conformance to the bylaw be approved.
Questions, concerns? No? Councilor Ramsey, you're calling the question?
Question called, Your Worship.
Okay, 10-0. Okay,
Your worship, moved by Councilor Baird, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to decrease the minimum side yard setback from 6 feet to 0 feet in order to construct a 4-unit townhouse dwelling for the property at 60 to 66 Dorchester Street, PID 336826 and 336818 be approved.
Question called.
Councilor Bernard, did you put your name there? Councilor Bernard, that's you?
Yeah. So I just wondered if there was any discussion on this zero lot line. We had run into some problems with that before with the Richmond building, so I'm just wondering, does this create another scenario very similar to that? Because if we're going down to zero, that's got to be the same for the next door neighbor, correct?
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Bernard. Yeah, and I think the reason why this was kind of I don't want to use the term slam dunk, but recommended by council, by planning staff and the board, is that it's been approved 3 times in the past. The same application has come through, and of course we have that 1 year. If you don't start building within that year, then you have to come through the process again. So this actually has been approved by council, this council as well, last year. So this is, like I said, a continuation, and I think they're going to actually build it this time around. So,
Yes, so knowing what we know from Richmond
Yeah.
Street, does this change anything though?
but we knew about it last vote, and we all voted in favor.
So
So-
what's next to this property?
There's a vacant parking lot that's between Starbucks currently there, and this property. Yeah.
The house
that
was there, council, which was the old David Parsons house, and it had 0 setback. It was like
Oh, yes, yes,
It's like,
okay, yeah,
it's like our house down in King Square. No, I think it's King Square, we get 5 feet.
right on,
Walk out the door and you're on the sidewalk.
okay.
Same thing, it's the old Clarkin house, they,
Yeah.
Holland tore it down. And it's,
Gotcha.
you know where we're talking about there, Counselor? Down by Starbucks? In behind the parking lot, then the vacant lot. I think it's Dunstan Carroll, right? Who's the,
Right.
is he, yeah. You're all right there, Counselor Bernard?
I am.
You know what we're talking, yeah.
Question called.
Okay.
You see him now?
So, you called the question, Counselor Ramsey, you better vote.
Oh, yeah, that would help, wouldn't it?
It helped.
Having a rough day, your worship. Thank you
I
for
bet.
asking.
Okay. So the next resolution is Greenfield? Greenfield Avenue? Greenfield Avenue?
That's next, yep.
This again is variance for side yard,
2 foot,
2 feet.
2 feet.
2 foot.
Okay, sir.
Motion, your worship, you already voted on the other one?
We voted on the other one, 5, it was 10-0, and now we're on the number 6.
If I want to go back to this one first, your worship, where the other one was turned down, we should put this on the official record.
Okay, so it's 6-4, right?
Well, we're going for this motion.
Okay. We just have to move back a little bit, just a step back. One on, what address, sir?
Bulger Drive.
Bolger Drive. Okay.
Your worship, moved by Councilor Rivard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to reduce the minimum lot area requirement from 0.5 acres to approximately 0.34 acres in order to construct a garden suite on the property located at 33 Bulger Drive, PID 492579, be rejected.
Be rejected.
Correct.
Questions? Okay, you can vote.
No, it's not that one. It's just a reverse vote.
Let's vote again on that?
It has to end on a positive note.
You just went a little too fast in the last one, so anyways. You have to vote? Councilor Brown, Councilor Twill?
Correct.
It's just the opposite. That's
Just the opposite to what you voted for.
So it's 7-3. Councilors voted. Correct? Okay, sir.
Your worship, moved by Councilor Rivard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to reduce the interior side yard setback from 1.83 meters, 6 feet, to 1.2 meters, 4 feet, in order to construct an addition to the rear portion of the existing single detached dwelling at 21 Greenfield Avenue, PID 352955, be approved.
Question called.
Questions called already, wow. Right. Must be a baseball game on, is there? Okay, 10-0. Prefer?
Your worship, moved by Councilor Barrett, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to consolidate 91 King Street, PID 336909, 93 King Street, PID 336917, 94 to 98 Dorchester Street, PID 336974, and 100 to 102 Dorchester Street, PID 336966, and reduce the minimum lot frontage required in order to be eligible for bonus height in the DMUN zone from 98.4 feet to approximately 80.1 feet on the consolidated property consisting of PIDs 336909, 336917, 336974, and 336966, and reduce the minimum side yard setback for the fifth story from 18 feet to 13 feet away from the four properties fronting on Queen Street, PID 336982, 336990, 337006, and 337014, on the consolidated property consisting of PID 336909, 336917, 336974, and 336966, in order to construct a five-story, 43-unit apartment building, be approved subject to the following. A, pinned final survey plan, a new perimeter deed description being registered describing the outer boundaries of the consolidated parcels, design review approval, public benefit being provided for the fifth floor, for the fifth story, and the signing of a development agreement, Your Worship.
Geez, you want a drink of water after that?
That's right.
Huh? It's a long one.
We got another one.
I'll do it. Okay, any questions, concerns? No? Okay, we're going to the vote. Log in and vote. And 0. Okay, sir.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Bard, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to consolidate the properties at 58 to 64 Queen Street, PID 336990, and 68 Queen Street, PID 336982, be approved subject to the following. A PIN final survey plan, a new perimeter deed description being registered describing the outer boundaries of the consolidated parcels, and design review approval for any significant exterior renovations, Your Worship.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
We vote.
Yes, sir.
Your Worship, Councillor Barrett, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the request to consolidate the properties at 165 John Yo Drive, PID 1102, 102, and 185 John Yo Drive, PID 1078179, be approved subject to a final pinned survey plan, Your Worship.
Any questions, concerns? Okay. Vote. Quick there. Councilor John, Councilor McKay, Councilor Duffy. Councilor McKay. Okay. 10-0.
Your Worship, move by Councillor Baird, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, that the amendments to the zoning development bylaw P8-Z2.2 pertaining to Sections 2 operations, Section 3.8.6 and 3.9.6 minor and major variances, Section 3.14 design review, Section 4 accessory structures, Section 4.6 non-conforming buildings, Section 43.1 parking space standards, Section 44.12.4 general provisions for fascia signs, Section 44.13.3 and 44.15.1 and 44.16.1 reinsertion of the downtown Main Street DMS zone and the general provision table for signage pertaining to the freestanding sandwich board signs and temporary banners, and Section 44.21 exemptions to sign regulations for designated properties be approved to proceed to public consultation.
Yes, sir.
And there should be,
That's on the amended,
Correct, yeah.
amended agenda, yeah.
But it should be part of this resolution too, right? So it
It
should be
is.
another section for the,
Should have a section.
dealing with the subdivision of duplex lots.
You're just adding lot size, right? Correct, is that correct?
One more amendment to take to a
Section
public meeting. Yep.
5.5 non-conforming use and Section 45.13 lot size, Your Worship.
Yeah.
So it's
Question
on it?
called.
Good.
Questions go.
Okay, 10-0.
Me and, oh, Mike.
Heritage resolutions now?
I think that's it for resolutions. I don't know if we have any second
Any
readings,
other
do we?
resolutions?
This one.
Oh, yes, sorry, yes, it's number 9. Number 9 for,
Oh, there.
Moved by Councilor Barrett, second by Deputy Mayor Prodi, that the request to operate a home occupation, i.e. counseling and therapy services for the property at 13 Darwood Drive, PID 278531, be approved for reconsideration.
oh, geez, we're already voting.
What's moving?
Councilor McLeod, I think.
I think that's what, I think I was agreeing with Councilor Cloud. You want to say something?
Sure,
Yeah, I know, that's.
sure. Well, I think,
Oh, we're past that.
on that, yes, so I missed the last council meeting, and I didn't have an opportunity to speak on this. And I asked if planning and council would reconsider this, this application. It was considered in under the medical aspect of the bylaw, and I feel strongly and clearly that it isn't. That these types of services are very much required and needed in the home. Not all these referrals can happen where they can open up an actual storefront. So this is to help people, just so people understand, this is to help people that are working, right? These are issues that could be anything that we all cope in everyday world. That it's a one-on-one. She can't open up more offices. It's all through education, taking the skills that you have and inducing and learning more from that. So the most that she can ever have, like, because it's a work referral, so she won't be able to advertise, and she's not going to be putting in 3 more doctor's offices, or, you know, there's no equipment, no sinks, none of that. All it is a very secluded room where she can meet with this person and do counseling. It has to be tied away so that the applicant can't see the rest of her family. There can't be someone in the waiting room. It's a very, you know, there's quite a few of them in Geraldtown operating now, and I just feel that, you know, I know 2 of, personally myself, I know 2, and one has over the years moved it to a building because she had done it for so long. But when you're first starting out, these EAP clients, the companies themselves, they don't just throw 20 people at you right away, right? You got to work your way into the system. So they encourage you to start out of your home so that it's secluded. So the neighbors next door, for example, will think it would be just someone walking up visiting you, right? There's not going to be, and if you looked at her house, it's a small little home, and there's only room for one room to do this. And, you know, if she ever grew where she needed more, she would have to move into another building. So I just thought that I needed the council to really understand that it's not a medical operation at all. It's just a counseling for everyday people, very low risk, and with all the issues that we have today. So I'm just asking for that reconsideration. Thank you.
Home occupation bylaw is really an incubator for a business to start and hopefully move to somewhere else, right? So I think this is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So, any other comments? Okay. Hey, Councilor Ramsey, you can vote now.
Question called, Your Worship.
official does.
That's it, Councilor Rivera?
That was
Great,
pretty,
great report.
that was pretty painless.
Yes.
Don't
I-
have any more.
Kind of like the Twilight
Glad
Zone.
you're back.
I expected a lot worse. 12 resolutions. Look, David Hooley over there.
Parks Recreation. Councilor. Councilor Tweed.
As Chair of Parks and Recreation Leisure Activities Committee, pleased to announce Norman McGurk as our Volunteer of the Month for October. Norman has been involved with lacrosse, PEI, for the past number of years. Currently holds the role of president with the association, has been involved with the field scheduling within the city of Charlottetown. Lacrosse is becoming a growing sport in Charlottetown and across the island. And with its reintroduction in 2012, during that time, registration numbers have increased dramatically. At the first, the sport was played on the island indoors as box lacrosse. After the first season in 2012, the decision was made to move outside. Players began to play field lacrosse. Norman has been one of the individuals who's helped grow this sport at the younger age level, all the way to the varsity level. Please join with me in congratulations to Norman on his recognition as October's Volunteer of the Month. Report's in your package. I'll do my best to answer any questions, but box lacrosse. Box lacrosse was alive and well. Give a little history. Was alive and well back in the late 70s. I played lacrosse with at Simmons with people like Callie McPhail and Kent Lannon. These guys all played for sure Parkdale Metros. And I can tell you, as good as hockey players they were, Kent Lannon and Donnie Roper, David Reed, a few fellows like that, they were better lacrosse players. I mean, excellent lacrosse players, a real inspiration. So there's a history here in this province for box lacrosse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They wore helmets back then either.
we wore everything. And believe me, and everything went too, Philip. It's too bad you didn't play.
No, I was in the swimming pool.
I would've enjoyed that.
I was in the swimming pool. I'm in the Simmons pool. Any Councilor Ramsey?
Thank you for your report, Councillor Twill. I apologize for missing the last meeting, or I would have brought it up, but at the Queen Elizabeth Park, I've been getting from some of the neighbors and that, a disabled parking down there, and I think I brought it up at Parks and Recreation one other time too. Now that we widened the parking spaces down there and all that, in the parking lot, I was wondering, because the people go down with their dogs and that, but they have no place to park, and they'll do the trail and all that, and I brought that up before, and I said I apologize for not being at the last meeting, but I would have brought it up then. That's why I'm bringing it up tonight. Like, maybe next year we can look at that, or, I mean, 1 or 2 spots, is about all we need, if it's possible.
Thank you for your question. I wasn't aware of the issue, but Frank's here, our manager of Parks and Rec. Frank's making a note of it, and I'm sure it'll be dealt with expeditiously.
Thank you, sir. That's quite a word.
Councilor McCain.
Thanks. Thank you for your report, Councillor Twill. I'm just wondering, when I was reading your minutes about the Harbour Hippo and the update on the cycling lane at Victoria Park, were you able to get an answer to them just driving through the pillars of the block?
Thank you for your question. No, we discussed that, as is illustrated in the minutes of our meeting. We discussed it. We're waiting to hear back from the other departments to see who, in fact, gave permission to the Harbour Hippo to drive over the delineators, which was put up by Public Works, which I thought was an excellent step forward to have that visual barrier to keep the cycling lane free of vehicle traffic, whether it's a Harbour Hippo or any other vehicle. We want the participants that use a cycling lane, regardless of what the demographic is, cycling and cycling with no fear and not worrying about an intimidating vehicle coming in the opposite direction. So we're waiting to hear back. CAO attended that meeting, I believe he did, and we're waiting to hear back from the other 2 departments. The other 2 departments would be police and public works. But we're looking at some options to making the cycling lane even safer. that's something we have to do our due diligence when it comes to making it safer, and we want to make that assurance, because we have a lot of people using the cycling lane, and it's very important that it is safe. So thank you for asking that question. It's a very, very good question.
Councilor Bernard.
Thank you. And just on that, Councilor Twill, and I think we talked about it at our committee, but I think there was delineators. I think we've got to relook at that whole issue, because as you notice now, when parents are taking their kids out of the car's doors are wide open. There's not enough room for the traffic to pass. And so somebody's going to get hit. It's just a matter of time. So I think that whole delineator and those whole pylons issue's got to be relooked at before somebody gets seriously injured, because there's not enough room. And the parents are taking the kids out of car seats or what have you. They're not looking, the doors wide open. And it's been a couple of pretty close calls so far.
Councilor Twill.
Thank you, Councilor Bernard. And, yeah, it's, there's not a lot of room, and that's why we need to look at improving and enhancement infrastructure down there on that whole boulevard. Once you get up and make the turn, of course, you have the grass medium, which is a great barrier. And there's all kinds of room. So this is a challenge to the department, the committee, and the city to look at ways and means of making it safer. And I can tell you that a number of months ago, before I even learned about what was happening with the Harbor Hippo, I did talk to Paul Johnson, who's responsible for infrastructure improvement and enhancement, and hopefully we can bring to the committee a recommendation, at least to explore that. Let's have consulting engineers look at what we can do to make that safer, so that no vehicle traffic is compelled to veer over into the cycling lane, crossing that yellow line, and again, making it safer. The good news is the cycling lane is well utilized by cyclists, all ages, same thing, rollerbladers. So that's why we have to be as diligent as we possibly can to look at those options. But your point's well taken.
Yeah.
Your point's well taken. I agree with you. I mean, there's not a lot of room there, and the time has come to look at it.
I just think, just follow up. And we can have this conversation later, but I think the median is still going to take up more room than those little pylons are now. I think they're still going to be where the parents are getting their kids unloading in the car zone. That's even going to be smaller if you put a median down that section. But anyway, we can discuss the Parks and Rec.
There's options there. Thank you.
Okay, can we move on to the next report? Protective and Emergency Services. Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Worship. Our Committee of Protective Emergency Services met on Monday, October the 7th, and the minutes from that meeting are included in your weekend package. On our fire side this month, volunteer recruitment is in full swing, and the department is busy accepting applications and doing orientation sessions up until October the 25th of this month. I'd like to also acknowledge that one of our firefighter volunteers, Brad Wanacott, has won a gold medal at the 2019 Fire Fit Championships. Brad was a member of the 50 and over gold medal relay team that beat Germany by 17th 100ths of a second, so that's quite a feat. And on the policing side this month, officers were very busy helping with the PEI Shellfish Festival, Farm Day in the City, the Terry Fox Run, CIBC Run for the Cure, and planning is well underway for this weekend's Island Marathon. The yearly police memorials were well attended this year, as a provincial memorial was held in Charlottetown, and our chief also attended the National Police Memorial in Ottawa. I'd also like to take this opportunity to talk about Councillor Tweel's Danny Redmond. I applaud him for a great speech, and I was a great friend of Danny's, and he was the chair of Protective and Emergency Services as well. And I just want to acknowledge that we're going to miss him, and all of our hearts go out to Paul and his two children. If anyone else has any questions about this committee, I'll try to answer them as best I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran, for your report. A couple of things, one under fire, one under police. I'll do police first. as you know, we have constituents on Palmer's Lane that are concerned about speed and traffic. There are 2 speed bumps on the street. I had a chance to view with the constituent. The traffic still accelerating a speed that to my mind is unacceptable. I think we need to look at neighborhood speeding. I know the speed humps are one option. I think we need to look at other options. I think the time has come now to look at other options. No, and attend the FCM. And you go into the expo, and you go around in the different, what do you call them, different vendors or different presenters that are there. It gives you an opportunity to talk to some of these people that are offering their services and infrastructure improvements, equipment improvements. And what I want to zero in on is, because Palmer's Lane is School Street, is speeding in the school zones and in the park areas, where there's children commuting back and forth to parks and schools. So I think we need to look at the technology. When we talk about technology, it could be cameras, it could be God knows what, but I know that in Ontario, in the neighborhoods, not so much major highways, but in the neighborhoods, are looking at new technology and technology to help assist with speeding. Whereas speed humps, and I got this on Lapthorne Avenue, same thing. They'll come up to the speed hump, slow down, and then gunner after that. That's not everyone. I'm not trying to stereotype all the vehicle traffic, but some of them take liberty, and that's where the frustration stems from. So, I'd like our department to look at some of the new technology that's being offered, and again, it's zeroing in strictly on school zones in areas where there's neighborhood parks and district parks. That's where I believe in the older neighborhoods. That's where I believe the focus should be. It's great to do the bypass and the main entrances into the city, but we need to concentrate our efforts there. So I offer that as a suggestion. The second issue I want to bring up is we have the Fire Chief Randy McDonald, who's in charge of emergency measures here for the city of Charlottetown, and I know they have a mandate, and he's the top man when it comes to coordinating with all other departments, and I'd like to make a recommendation, at least for consideration, that your committee discuss whenever we get into situations, whether it be hurricanes or rain surges and water surges in our city, especially when it comes to local flooding. And when I talk about local flooding, I'm talking Queen Street. We've had a problem in that particular neighborhood where flooding, the water rises up 4 feet, maybe even higher, and when the vehicle traffic drives through, the waves unnecessarily goes into people's properties that these residents have spent a substantial amount of money on their properties, could be basement apartments, and it just creates a lot of unnecessary stress, pressure, anxiety, and this is something that is well documented, well known at City Hall. I've tried to bring this forward on a number of occasions, but our plan of action or lack thereof is not working. So that's why I'm bringing it up under your committee, under emergency on the emergency measures under Fire Chief Randy McDonald, to see if there's an opportunity to have him take charge of that, so that the residents have a self-assurance of predictability, expectation, and total awareness of what the game plan is going to be in terms of blocking the street off, barricades going up before the water begins to rise, as opposed to the water subsiding and, well, we got there afterwards, and that's an old movie that just seems to be playing out time and time again, and it's not working. So as opposed to being critical, I'm looking for solutions and suggestions. So please bring that to your committee, because I got residents down in that community that are living in fear anytime there's a rain surge, water event, whatever the case may be. And we have to do everything in our power to make sure that these residents taxpayers. We're doing everything we can to protect their property, at least go beyond the call of duty, because it's not working right now.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Councillor Twill. I certainly agree with you. We can certainly discuss this at our next committee meeting, for sure. I also have concerns, maybe in case of storms and things like that, where do the residents go of my ward and various other wards? Maybe there should be a better plan. We'll have to sit down, we'll discuss it at our committee and to see if we can get a plan in place. I'm sure there's a plan with some of the bigger, the community centers there. They, have warming centers and that, but you're talking about a totally different thing with a level of water for sure. But we'll bring it up at our committee this month and see what we can do. On the policing side, I don't think you'll ever find another department that's, on the breaking edge of technology as the Charlottetown City Police. They have so many good people involved. The deputy, with the direction from the chief, they came out with different things for the cars and, technology, whether we put up cameras. We have the e-watch system in place now. Maybe it's time for this council to move ahead with maybe more members are needed. Maybe there's amalgamation of services with other communities that could be put forward. These are some of the things that we could look at as a council, and I think that could really help us in the long run. So I hope that kind of answers your question, but we'll certainly bring it up at our next meeting. Thank you. Yes. Mayor Woods.
There's a number we should try to hit. Councilor Powell.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thanks, Councillor Duran, for your report. I brought it up to Brad, so I thought I'd just bring it up here this evening, maybe have it put on your agenda, but the intersection of Great George and Fitzroy, there was a lady hit there a couple weeks ago. She actually lives in my ward, but the incident did happen in Ward 1. So, and just a thought is that when we did the Fitzroy Street bike projects, some of the good things that come out of that was how well they engineered some of them intersections, and that maybe if police and environment could get together to look at some of those suggestions that were made by the engineer, that might solve, because it is a tricky intersection, and there's a lot going on. It's busy, the lady that could hit, she was in the right. She did have the button pushed, and she was in the right. But it's such a busy intersection. I just think it's time where there's been an awful lot of near misses there, and sooner or later something is tragically going to happen. So if it could be just put on your agenda, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure, no problem at all.
Okay, you have a couple of resolutions there, sir?
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Duran, second by Councillor Ramsey, that the public works manager be authorized to cut grass, remove any fallen trees and subsequent undergrowth that would lead to the existence of animal life, remove any other materials or debris, clean up and properly dispose of the same at the owner's expense on the property located at 55 Corrigan Court, PID 690834, in accordance with the terms of the dangerous, hazardous, and unsightly bylaw of the City of Charlottetown.
Question call?
Call a question?
Yes, I did.
You can call it.
Working trade? Your Worship, to amend the City of Charlottetown nuisance bylaw 2019-NB-01 to define what a bee is, updating the definition of livestock to include bee, remove any reference to the Charlottetown Area Municipalities Act, and replace it with the Municipal Government Act of PEI, and the number of bylaw 2019 and B01. Moved by Councillor Duran, second by Councillor Ramsey, be it therefore resolved that the City of Charlottetown, that the City of Charlottetown nuisance bylaw be read a second time, and that the said bylaw be now adopted.
Yeah, so second reading, no debate. Shall it carry?
No. No.
No?
No.
No. Okay, so those against, please put up your hands. Okay. And those in favor of it?
Not in the bees, right?
Beehives.
Beehives. Yeah, a lot of discussion on the beehives.
projector. Okay. We're going to move on. Here. Sewer, utility? What was the score? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our committee met. The report's in your package. If there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. There's one resolution tonight for council's consideration. And,
Any questions on his report? You want to read the resolution there, Mr. Kelly?
Your Worship, moved by Deputy Mayor Cody, sent by Councilor McCabe, whereas the City of Charlottetown passed a policy resolution on April 10th, 2000, that the City Council confirm its policy not to entertain applications for water service to properties outside the municipal boundary of the City of Charlottetown without first receiving approval from the City Council to do so, and that the City Council approves the request for services received from Arnold McCray. Request is for water and sewer servicing to propose subdivision of Sleepy Hollow Road within the community of Milton Vale Park. And further, that the cost associated with the development be paid by the developer, as well as services be billed with a 25% premium, the surcharge for services provided outside the City of Charlottetown municipal boundary, Your Worship.
Okay, what? Any speakers, any? Okay. Question call there, Councilor Ramsey?
I think Councilor Baird.
Well, his name's
Well,
not up here.
I'm rereading this resolution.
Yeah.
And it tends to, I'm reading that it contradicts itself, the first paragraph and then the second. So what am I missing here? It says the City Council confirmed the policy not to entertain applications. And then the second, that we are approving.
Without first receiving approval
Of council.
from city council. So
Is the
this
first
needs,
Without approval.
Gotcha, okay. I'm
so
good.
it's not a committee decision, it has to be a council decision. Correct, Mr. Kelly?
Correct, Your Worship.
And Mr. McCray is anxious to get going because I saw him at a wake and he said, what's going on with my application? And he's willing to pay the 25% surcharge.
good deal.
You all right there, Counselor?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just still
Okay.
reading it.
All right,
Still
question
doesn't make a
called.
lot of sense. But
No, I know.
I know,
We're down to five.
make sure the resolution.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Public Works Department met on, the Public Works Committee met on Friday, September 20th, and on Tuesday, October 8th. At the September 20th meeting, we talked and discussed about the shortage of space at the McAleer Drive storage area out there for our snow removal equipment, especially that equipment that's used in the downtown area. We went out on a search to find a more convenient place, a heated place where we could keep the sidewalk snow plows and that sort of thing. These machines have to be kept in a heated place because of the hydraulic fluids involved with them. If they freeze up on the machine, it causes quite a bit of damage and quite an expense. After a long search, there was Longworth Avenue was being utilized, a building there, but it had problems with mildew and heating problems, so they had to go find another place to store these this machinery, and they found a place on Kensington Road, owned by Wilson Fuels in the area where Chandler Brothers Motor Rewinding area is there. So that particular place they had rented for this past year. They began in 2018. They want to rent now for the coming year. The rent is $3,100 a month, which is cheaper than the other place. And so that's where we will be storing our machinery. So it's going to work well for all people, all employees and machinery included. Another topic of discussion was street resurfacing. This program has experienced some snags over the past couple of months, and these snags have been caused by homeowners or landowners developing lots on these various streets. So the city doesn't want to go in and pave the streets and then have the heavy equipment come in to develop these lots that the private people are going to develop. So we're going to have to lay three streets this year that will be done the first of next year. And those 3 streets are, for development purposes, are Dorchester Street, Chestnut Street, and East Royalty Road. The meeting that we had, the second meeting we had during the past month was on Tuesday, October the 8th, and the particular reason for that meeting was to get some of the tenders we're going to be looking at later this evening, shortly, for equipment that we need for our snow service coming up in the winter. But at the beginning of that meeting, Ron McPhee, our community liaison officer, paid us a visit, and the reason for Mr. McPhee's visit was to inform us that the Civic Board for Persons with Disabilities has been discussing forwarding a survey to Charlottetown residents seeking their opinion on topics considered most challenging for persons with disabilities in the community. So Ron wanted to bring us up to date on the work of that particular advisory board, and we have invited the chair of that advisory board to come into the Public Works meeting and just fill us in how things are going and what their plans are. So we're looking forward to that. Also during that particular meeting in October, Mr. Adams, our Public Works Manager, provided a short update on the summer areas that are wrapping up, of course, now, as well as a progress report on the issues being addressed in preparing for our winter season. So tonight we have 5 resolutions prepared for Council's consideration. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much.
I'll entertain any questions anyone may have.
Now, Ron.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for your report, Councillor Duffy. I just have a concern. You know, I know the patching, they've been out the last month or so, and that's been terrific. A lot of the residents, there's been some holes that have been filled very quickly, and I'm very happy with the service. And as soon as you give an email, you know, it's a great thing to have the residents happy. There's one concern I have in a cul-de-sac on Lilac Avenue. It had pavement curbing, and I've asked a couple of times about you know, what we could be doing with that. They were hoping to get a concrete curb in at some point in time. I'm just asking because I see a lot of curbing going on. Is there a protocol? I know we had asked, and it said when the street is paved. Now, this section of street, I know the cul-de-sac is in pretty rough shape, but the other section is in fairly decent shape, so it'd be 6 or 8 years before the street is paved. Is there any way we can, like, talk about it at your committee level that, or with your manager to see if we could put a concrete curb in? It's not that big, but just every spring, their yards are ripped up, and they've been asking me for a number of years now, and I'm just, I said, look, I'll bring it up. I mean, paving's done for this year, but maybe we can get ahead of the game for next year. So I just ask if you could put it on your committee's agenda for next month and to see what you could do for me. Be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Durong. I'll take it under advisement, and we can speak about it at the committee level. I do know this, and I'll ask Mr. Adams to chime in when he feels the need to do so. I do know that in order to put the cement curbing down, there's a ledge of a foot or 18 inches that goes underneath, and in order to anchor that cement curbing in place, you have to then pave everything, and that the pavement anchors the curb in place. So you have to have paving done. The conundrum we run into is the fact, as you just stated, that the entryway may need a bit of curbing, may need some paving done, but the actual area where the curbing is around in the cul-de-sac area doesn't need. So we'd be paving in order to accommodate the curbing when the paving is not really required in that area. But I'll ask Mr. Adams if you'd like to. You want to add to that, Scott?
Good point.
I know, Councillor, that it said it right, it was, it has to be milled out prior to putting in curbing.
Yeah. We'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
And Councillor Duffy, in terms of the paving, there is so much paving going on, I believe that Island Construction is a couple of weeks behind.
Yes.
In schedule. That's how much they're doing. So
Your Worship, I can tell you Greenfield Avenue, I think, has been planed maybe 3.5 weeks ago, and is still waiting the final coating, you know, the final sealing coat.
right.
Yeah. So they are behind
A lot
the
behind.
machine.
Councillor Rivera, did you have something to say? name up there and then took it off. But
I'm
they-
good, but just to follow up on that question,
Great.
thank you, Councillor Duffy. So, even though we're behind right now in paving, and I see that in the minutes that October 31st is kind of the deadline, I'm assuming that's when the asphalt is, they stop manufacturing the asphalt as of October? Or can we, is this gonna continue? I guess my question is all the streets that are on the list to be paved, is that still the plan to have them all done before,
Yeah.
before this year?
I would ask Mr. Adams to answer that question, but I noticed one of your streets being Beach Grove. I see the city still working there. You know, that prep work in getting prepared for this paving machine to show up, they're still working on the sidewalk
Yeah.
there. That has to be done before anything, you know, to progress it in that. But I'll ask Mr. Adams about the deadline. I don't know if that's an asphalt plant deadline or City of Charlottetown.
Your worship, no, it's not an asphalt on a deadline, it's we put that deadline to try to ensure that all work is done within this fiscal year, or in this construction season. The impasse and in talks with the contractor, yes, they will work beyond that deadline to get the work done, but the problem with get later in the season is the weather, we start to get a little touchy, so as long as the weather cooperates in early November, everything should be completed, so.
Thank you.
They were paid wait for December 4th. They can keep going. Money in the bank. Go ahead there, sir.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions of the public tender for traffic signals replacement, the submission of Hanson Electric in the amount of $306,590, all taxes included, be accepted. That this expenditure has been approved, the 2019 capital budget dated March 21st, 2019, and that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute the standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your worship.
Question.
Question?
Question called.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions of the public tender for street lighting replacement, the submission of Olympia Electric in the amount of $86,240, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been approved in the 2019 capital budget dated March 21st, 2019, and that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your worship.
Question.
Question, sir? Okay, Councilman.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions of the public tender for municipal sidewalk tractors, the submission of McFarland's Industrial in the amount of $210,689.47, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been approved in the 2019 capital budget dated March 21st, 2019, and that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your worship.
Question.
Question called.
Question?
Your worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that council rescind the following Public Works Resolution Number 1 of September 20th, 2019, that as per the conditions of the public tender for 2 3-ton dump plow trucks, the submission of universal truck and tractor guaranteeing delivery of the truck within 80 days of award in the amount of $284,050, all taxes included, be accepted. That is the motion to rescind, Your worship.
Question.
Question? Please vote.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions on the public tender for 2 3-ton dump plow trucks, the submission of East Coast International Trucks, Inc. in the amount of $276,077.40, all taxes included, be accepted, and that this expenditure has been approved in the 2019 capital budget dated March 21st, 2019, and that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute any standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your worship.
Saved us $8,000.
That to your worship.
Question.
Question called.
Let's go. 8,000. Where did we put that? Planning, we're doing planning.
Yes,
10-0.
That's your report there, Councilor Duffy.
Yes, it is, Your worship.
Thank you very much.
Isn't that one resolution left?
Your worship, there may be one more on sidewalk plows.
Is that here with us?
Yeah.
No, there's one that was pulled back.
That was the
and
Salter
forward.
and Blade on the trucks.
Right.
But now there's 2 sidewalk plows that are supposed to be there.
I'll check with staff.
Additional motion there, Counselor?
No, it
Salt
was
spreader and
in the package.
installation of the equipment to supply truck chassis.
That's what
Right here.
That's it, that's it.
Has it? Maybe we passed the other one at another public meeting previous.
That's for the.
Sorry. Okay,
For the storage space?
no. 2 new sidewalk.
No, it's already been done.
It's already been.
Okay, Counselor Kevin Ramsey.
Thank you, your worship, Mayor Philip Brown.
Events management, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you for the lovely introduction. The tourism and events, pardon me?
Showtown's event grounds?
Don't go down that road, your worship. We met on September 18th, the minutes are in your package. Any questions? It's been a busy month there since we last met. We hosted Farm Day in the city, as those that were there. There was probably well over 20,000 people, I believe, there. In fact, you couldn't get up and down the street. And I wanted a hot dog or hamburger, but I couldn't get one, I had to go home.
And what about the queen of the pumpkin pie eating?
It's on the list, your
Oh,
worship.
it's on the
Don't be
list?
jumping.
Oh, good.
It's my report, your worship, not yours.
Fix.
This past weekend, we had the under-17 Toyota National Soccer Championships. You were there, and Mr. Long was there also for the opening ceremonies. We had the Atlantic Karate Championships. We had the Atlantic Breeders' Crown was hosted in the city. And this weekend brings the PEI Marathon with several other events coming through this month. The Falls cruise ship season has been very, very busy, as you know. We had the largest cruise ship ever here, over 6,000 people. And this Thursday, I'd like to remind council the 4 students from Japan are arriving here Thursday, and they're staying with host teams. Like, that's our sister city over there, and we're planning on having a reception Thursday, so if anyone would show up and
hope
on
so.
that line. And I'd like to congratulate Councillor Yankoff for just hammering you again, your worship, at the pie eating contest.
Queen of the pumpkin pie eating contest.
She's the queen of the silver dollar, as that old song goes.
She doesn't care, she won. How many times now? 4?
Three.
Yeah. So if any questions or anything along that line, we're certainly help. Whatever you like, your worship. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Counselor Tweed.
Oh, not the events ground.
Thank you for your report. Thank you for your report, Councilor Ramsey. As you mentioned, you talked about the cruise ships here in the city and the unprecedented amount of cruise ships in the city, and of course, how large some of these cruise ships are. One of the things I'd like to embark upon is a case study on the cruise ships. And what I mean by that is, how many actual dollars is going into the local economy? Many of the cruise ship passengers are being bused to Cavendish. Buses upon buses upon buses to Cavendish, and that's all well and good. But it'd be interesting to find out what truly is the economic spin-offs in terms of the cruise ship industry here in the city of Charlottetown. We're just about completion of the second berth to have more cruise ships. So, over the years with the new berth, you're talking $40 million being spent. It would be interesting from a case study perspective to get some kind of an estimate, or maybe we can get specifics, I'm not sure. But it'd be nice to know actually how much money does go into the local economy, because cruise ships after cruise ships after cruise ships, buses after buses after buses are transported to Cavendish. It'd be nice to get a breakdown, a comparison and contrast. So business community can know what to expect. We would know what to expect here in the city, and all taxpayers for that matter. So I'd like to take that under advisement. Maybe we can discuss it at the committee. But I think it was important to bring that up.
Thank you for your question, and it was, because I often thought that myself when I did the odd cruise ship there, when I was with the the Coach Atlantic group. And as you say, a lot of them go out there, and they take buses, bomb buses, but there is an awful lot of people here in the city that spend, sorry, and I like to sort of refer that to Laurel, because she's the boss of the whole office downstairs.
Your worship, Port Charlottetown did provide us with that information, so we can forward that to the.
You have any numbers
this
available?
evening.
Do you have any numbers now?
I don't have any in front of me, but we do have the report from Port Charlottetown based on last year.
And it's gonna be bigger this year.
Exactly.
Councilor Twill.
Thank you, Laurel, for offering that information. Can you tell me, it was completed by Port Authority, can you tell me who actually completed the report? Was it a chartered accountant's firm? Was it financial, people, credentials and qualifications? I'd like to know the methodology behind the report, who did the report, and what the methodology is, so we can capture an accurate, accurate description as to, again, how much money is going into the local economy. I think it'd be interesting for all the council to be aware of just what are the economic spin-offs.
Okay, we'll certainly bring that back to their next meeting.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome, sir, and that's tomorrow.
Is that it, sir?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for your time.
much.
What's your name?
Jeremy McLeod, Environment and Sustainability.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The Environment and Sustainability Committee met on September 24th. The Mayor's Task Force on Active Transportation met on September 10th. And Food Council met on September 17th. The draft minutes are there in your package. I have no resolutions for your consideration. I do have a few highlights, if you don't mind, Your Worship.
Well, you might as well just tell us right now.
Oh, I will, thank you.
Give us the report.
The city's transit service broke records for daily, weekly, monthly ridership in September in Charlottetown. So the total ridership for the month was 71,711. So just great news there all the way around. The transit pilot continues in East Worldy with morning and afternoon service to the Charlottetown Mall and the Confederation Center. We continue to encourage the residents of this area to take advantage of this service, which will run from March now until March of 2020, at which time it will be reviewed by the Environment and Sustainability Committee. The Environment and Sustainability Committee has set the date for the third annual fixture there. It'll be held at the West Royal Community Centre on November the 2nd, 10 o'clock in the morning. The theme for this year's event is waste reduction. The event will feature a repair cafe where attendees can bring in broken household items and the volunteer fixers will repair it. There will also be workshops on ways to reduce food waste and the single-use plastic use in our daily lives. And the last, as I said, note, our Forest and Environment Officer, Beth Orr, will be retiring here at the end of October after being employed by the city since 2006. Beth has been an invaluable asset to the city of Charlottetown, working on urban forestry, parkland conservation, nature education, invasive species management. We want to wish Beth all the best in retirement and thank her for her many years of service. So to Beth, wherever you are, thank you very much. We certainly appreciate it. And outside of that, that's it for me, Your Worship.
Well, I can say one thing, Councilor McLeod. Prince Street School, with the dishwasher that was donated by Brenda McGinn, has taken, as Richard McEwen knows, he's a parent. They don't use any more styrofoam cups, styrofoam bowls. They don't use any plastic spoons. Everything is reusable. And Richard can tell you that little or no, the only waste that goes out is the toast or the bagels that weren't eaten. That's it. You'll have to do a follow-up there. We'll have to go up to Prince Street School someday.
Should take you to tour, Your Worship.
I will. Show you my old school. Councilor Twill went to that school too. Councilor Twill.
By 2004?
60s.
At least I went to school. Kevin didn't hear that. Thank you for your report. A couple of things. Just reading over the transportation, some of these issues are parks and recreation. So we'll be looking at some of the suggestions that were put down. And again, I want to make sure there's no conflict with what's taking place here and Parks and Rec. Just reading, and you alluded to it about the increase in ridership in the transit, and the owner of the transit talked about revising some of the routes and bringing that into the committee for the committee's consideration. Back when I chaired that committee, transit, we did engage with a consultant from Ontario. He's got 35, 40 years in the business, and that report is still here at City Hall. So I think it'd be advantageous and beneficial to go back and look at that report and to see what some of the recommendations were in that report, and to see how some of those, projections from the time that we brought in the amendments and changes to the transit system back, I think it was 2014 or 2015, to see what some of those projections were back then, 5, 10 years, and to see what can be done to implement some of those. So you might want to consider engaging the author of that report as well. It's nice to have the input from the owner-operator, but I think it's important to engage the author of that report, because he played a significant role in some of the changes made to the transit.
Thank you very much, Councillor Trio. I will certainly ask our manager to keep that report nearby, and the next conversation we have with Mike about any movement of routes, and to keep Parks and Rec definitely in the scope of where these routes are being changed. At this present time, what the routes are that was changed was the ones in East Worley, where the pilot project, where we weren't getting the ridership at some of the routes, so we decided to slow them down, but keep the other routes that were busy going, and enable us to do another 3 months of that. So that's all we have changed at this point. But I'd be more than welcome to have you come to an Eden when we meet next with the transit.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Not rushing here, no questions, so we can move on. The priorities and intergovernmental cooperation.
Thank
Councillor
you,
Yankoff.
Your Worship. Strategic Priorities and Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee met on September 26th, and draft minutes are in your package. The Youth Engagement Committee also met on September 10th, and again, those draft minutes are in your package. And also the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee met on the 10th of October, and those draft minutes are also in your package. There are no resolutions at this time, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that anyone might have. Thank you, Your Worship. No.
Canadian Cities Conference.
Yes,
Was there any discussion on affordable housing?
at the Capitol. Nobody did a report on affordable housing. Like, nobody gave a presentation on that, but I already gave my presentation to the committee. But, there was no discussions, was there? No. No.
Anything of interest for the city, like transit, was that discussed? Was that brought up? No?
I did my report on the environment and sustainability, and Laura Lee and I featured 4 kind of pillars that initiatives that we've been doing here. There was a lot of presentations on police services and emergency responding, and those were really the 2 main things. Was there anything else? Oh, right, there was one on graffiti, yeah. No, there was nothing on affordable housing.
And one of the points I want to make, David Wasnith, who is a urban planner, has been invited by the SBU Board of Governors. His concentration of research is on short-term rentals, Airbnb, and he'll be at the McDougall Hall, UPI McDougall Hall, October 30th. So if you can get out,
Yeah.
please go out. I went to his presentation in Quebec City. Lots of knowledge there.
I think you sent that meeting request out.
It did go out, yeah. Councillor Drawn.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for your report, Councillor Lankoff. There was something in the paper about affordable housing on Saturday, and I got a number of calls asking, did we approve it? Is there any way, like, I don't think it came to planning. There's a big development in Ward 2. It was in the paper. Do you know anything about it with the affordable housing?
I don't think Councillor Yankoff knows, but I think Councillor McLeod has it.
Well, I was just going to ask the same question, Councillor Strong. there is a permit a demolition permit to take down the houses there.
On Kensington Road.
On Kensington Road, and I was very shocked to see that they actually, they reported that there was an affordable housing project going there. I immediately phoned Chair of Planning, and they said absolutely not. There's been no conversation with anybody about anything going in there. So wherever that story come from, the cities has nothing to do with it, because I would hope so that we would at least bring it to a public meeting and have it approved, because there are residents, you know, it doesn't matter where it is, they're always concerned, right? So you need to address those concerns, so.
I think it did.
Can I speak
Councillor
now?
Rivard, can you?
Thank you. Your worship, there is, say, an affordable housing project that was approved by council about 5 months ago. It's just by the garage. It was for roughly, I think, 60 units, roughly.
The first is 36.
Yeah, but I think in total. Yeah.
And then they're gonna add more.
So it is a large project. Council did approve it. It was on the other side of the garage on Kensington Road.
Garage being Livingston's well shed.
Yeah, in around that area.
Well
Yeah,
shed.
yeah. So that was approved by council.
I remember they were in here.
Yeah.
Well,
Is that correct, Alex? You wanna just come up and answer?
Get you woke 'em up.
No, he's just taking it all in.
Sorry, Alex.
You want me to repeat the question?
I don't have a lot more to report. I'll look into that tomorrow and hear exactly what was approved there. It is my understanding, as Councilor Rivard reported, the numbers and things like that, I mean, 5 months ago, for us, is, you know, again, it's, you know, I just can't recollect exactly what's going on there, but it clearly was, I think, through here, and,
Yeah, it did.
and there was,
It did?
Yeah, Spare is the construction company.
Correct.
Owned by Jackson.
Correct.
but maybe the best thing for me to do, if you so desire, is I'll look into that tomorrow, and I'll send out an email to everyone,
Please.
giving you the particulars on that approval. Thank you.
That'd be great. No, that was just, I got calls and I didn't think I knew anything about it. I don't remember coming to council that we approved it. So if that was the case, thank you.
Councillor McLeod, thank you. Councillor Drawn?
thank you very much. So Alex, if you recall, we did have the conversation that, because I called and, but there are no permits in, right? Is
That's
that right?
correct. I mean, it's their,
Right.
but their approval is moving forward.
Right.
And the demolition, of course,
Right.
is going to take them to the next level. I don't know
Yeah.
their timelines when they wish to proceed, but again, maybe I can see what I
Yeah.
can do to.
It just, yeah, and it will follow normal process, I'm sure, once it gets going, yeah. Okay, good, thank you very
They
much.
did get permits to tear down the houses.
Yes, they did have those, yeah.
Is that all right there, Councillor Drawn?
Thank you, yeah. Perfect.
Councillor McLeod, that's all right?
I'm good.
Okay,
Yep.
we'll go on to, what's the friend here? Money man?
Right.
Councillor Bernard?
Thank you, Your Worship.
Money man.
Finance Audit Tender Committee met on October the 9th, Your Worship. The updated financials are in everyone's package. Our staff continue to monitor the budget, Your Worship, and so far everything's on track. We'll put a bug in everybody's ear that they might want to start thinking about capital projects. We're moving into November before we meet again, and we usually try and get the capital budget approved so we can get out and get some good pricing. So it might be something that Parks and Rec, Public Works, and others with capital dollars might want to start thinking about. And Your Worship, there's 2 resolutions for consideration, and I'll do my best to answer any questions.
You, sir? Any questions?
Just one, Your Worship.
Councillor Wheels,
sorry.
Councillor McLeod, you're still active?
Oh,
You wanna-
no, I'm not active, that should be my answer.
Councillor Wheel?
Thank you for your report, Councilor Bernard. As you know, we are governed by the procurement process here at the city, and we get into some real challenges and dilemmas when it comes to awarding, whether it be purchase of vehicles, services, goods and services in the city, and we have to go by the procurement, which outlines a number of prerequisites. And I understand that, and lots of times local businesses are really frustrated with council because we have to follow that procurement. They understand it, but they're still not enthusiastic about it, to say the, putting it politely. And even though there's a number of prerequisites, one of the suggestions I'd like to make is that I believe that one of the rating prerequisites should be a local component. can that service or can that equipment or vehicles, whatever, be provided here in the city? And could that rating be part of the overall rating of, you know, how staff does its rating and then brings forward a recommendation to the respective committee and then from the respective committee to council? I've been thinking about it for the last 2 or 3 months, particularly when we get into a situation of Public Works where everyone agreed we had to follow lowest tender. I know our local business were not happy, so it challenged me to say, okay, well, what can we do to make it more, I don't know if the word is advantageous, more fair, more consideration, I guess is a good word to use. What can we do to at least have a local, you know, can that service or can that equipment or vehicle, whatever the case may be purchased here? And could that be part of the procurement process? And then use that as a barometer in terms of the rating. So at least we can say to our local businesses that are, some of them paying big taxes, say, look, you know what, you are part of the process. Mere fact that you are in the city of Charlottetown, and you'll be graded respectively by our staff, and when they do their ratings, then they compile the data and then bring the analytics forward. So I just wanted to bring that forward to see if there's a possibility to make that part of the procurement process. Because as you know, and it's true, we don't necessarily have to accept the lowest bid. But when we do, it certainly raises the area of our local businesses. You know, that, as they say, their employees are working here, contribute to this community, attend our schools, buy their groceries, you know, contributing to our economy. So what can we do to try to make it, I don't know if the word is easier, but make it,
Charlottetown friendly.
yeah, Charlottetown friendly.
Okay.
Just a thought. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of any particular resolution of mine,
No.
but I wanted to bring it up.
Councilor Bernard.
I appreciate that. And you know, the idea is we usually, we're obviously looking for the best price, and if we don't take the lowest, there's usually a reason why we don't.
Yeah.
And it's usually identified. But you know what? Let us look at other municipalities and see what they have. There may be a scoring system for buying local.
Yeah,
So we'll certainly look into it, sure.
thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Duffy.
Your worship, I was involved, as Councillor Twill alluded to, I was involved as Public Works was involved with purchasing those vehicles, and I took the heat from the local car dealers. But they have to understand, it's not City Council that made this rule. It was kind of like the Council of Maritime Premiers, whatever that's called this day and age. They all got together, the premiers, and they set this up. And you can give a 10%, you know, bonus to the city of Charlottetown, but that group will also have to give Yarmouth the same thing, and Sydney the same thing, and Moncton the same thing. So it starts to eat away at the real purpose of why they have it, is to make sure that the lowest person tendering gets the business. So I would suggest, as I did to the dealers back then, if you've got a beef, you should be talking to the boys and ladies down at P.O. Box 2000 on Rochford Street. They're the ones that will change, that have the power and the authority to change it. We're just the players in the game.
Yeah, it's a bigger area when you look at procurement, and it's basically free purchasing amongst the 4 provinces.
Sure.
So if we do it, Summerside's gonna do it.
Sure.
And then Halifax will do it. They'll all start adding, and I think that's, but anyways, you're gonna take it under advisement.
Yeah, but just to follow up,
Just
Councilor Duffy.
follow up quickly.
Yeah, no, and I want you to know, Councilor Duffy, I took the heat too, you know, so, and I said, look, you know, our hands are tied, and I tried to explain that, and, of course, you know, they didn't buy it.
No.
So, and that's not, my suggestion's not just about that particular issue, it's overall.
Yeah.
You know, when you see a campaign, the last few years, buy local, buy local, buy local. So, I'm looking at that as an incentive, or maybe as a motivating factor to what can we do in terms of our part. I'd much rather purchase, you know, vehicles or goods and services here in the city of Charlottetown to let our business community know that we're thinking about them, we appreciate their business, we want them to do well, in fact, we'd like them to expand and hire more people and make more profits. So, that's why I bring it up.
Trying to be positive.
No, no, good point. I guess the other side of this coin too is that when the next vehicles come, we'll see if the pencils don't get a little sharper.
Yeah.
I know.
Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for your report, Councilor Bernard, and your budget summary here. I just have a couple of questions. Are the financial statements for 2018, are they completed, the audited financial statements? I understand that they have to be done by the middle of July, so I'm just wondering if they're completed for this year. Thank you.
The financial audit statements are just being completed now. We just went over them at our finance meeting, and normally, once finance committee goes over them, we would present them in the budget here, and then you would vote on it. In lieu of all the acquisitions that have been made over the last number of months, we thought it'd be prudent to bring the auditor in here. Everybody goes through the same information that we did, and any question you may have, you can ask them. But I can tell you, it's looking like it's pretty good news.
And
So.
Councilor, Minister responsible for municipal affairs, Summerside just got their statements. They're
Yeah.
all behind because of the new rules. So the.
I think it's common knowledge. I mean, we
Oh, no,
just
the
went through a
department is
15-month.
more flexible.
We went through a 15-month budget.
Yep.
And the timelines have been off, and there's reasons why they've been off. There's different accounting standards now, there's the MGA, there's a lot of different standards that we have to follow.
Inventory.
So, moving ahead, I think that we'll be back on the schedule, as will other municipalities. Okay.
Okay, you get a couple of resolutions?
Yep.
Your worship, move by Councilor Bernard, second by Councilor Brevard, that the city of Charlottetown accepts the 452 square foot sliver of land on Hanover Street, parcel A, on attached as part of the city right-of-way, portion PID 530980, as indicated in the attached survey plan, that the planning department enter into a development agreement with the developer, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, your worship.
Question.
I don't have a question.
Yeah, no, Councilor McKay.
Now, I'm just wondering if I could just be reminded what this is about. It's my area, and I'm just trying, so we're not in the same situation going back 4 months later. Can someone update me on what?
Bernard, can you clarify?
Yep, I think so. I think this was a recommendation that came through from planning. This was to make the frontage legal to our planning bylaws. So it was an angle change, and so this sliver of land would be taken over by the city, and it makes that frontage legal. Yeah. What's that?
More public right of way that's
Yes.
given to
Yeah.
the city?
Yeah.
So they're giving us land.
Yeah.
We'll take that. You don't have to pay for it. Free land.
Right.
Okay.
I just.
You're all right there, Councilor Gay?
I just want to make sure.
Okay, Jules?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, you want to vote?
I
Yep.
did, yeah, okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What here?
Your worship, by Councilor Bernard, second by Councilor Brevard, that the city of Charlottetown agrees to accept the donation of Andrews Pond North PID 192245-201 on attached, and provide John and Christine Andrew with a taxable receipt for the appraised value of $416,000 as noted in the appraisal report October 1st, 2017, prepared by Altus Group Limited, and re-evaluation letter provided by CBRE Limited, April 25th, 2019, that the city agrees to cover the associated expense of $15,000 for the appraisal, legal survey, and transfer of deed expenses, which will be expensed from the 2019 operational budget, and further, the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute standard contract agreements and agreements to implement this resolution, your worship.
Okay, Councilor Bernard, want to speak to it for a minute? Or a couple sentences?
Yeah. I do, your worship. And I'll just give a little bit of history here. So first of all, I just want to thank John and Christine Andrew for making this generous donation, your worship, to the city of Charlottetown. That guarantees the pleasure for the public use of those who wish to use this pond and the surrounding trails. The uses are many, but to name a few would include canoeing, kayaking, fishing, or enjoying all the wildlife that has returned to this pond, your worship. So a little bit of history. John, Darren Riggs, and myself started a relationship approximately 8 years ago with a goal to restore this pond to its original state. Over many years, silt from runoff going into the pond decreased the original depth. It used to be 10 to 12 feet of water to 5 to 6 feet. At that point, the pond had got annexed a couple of times, actually, Your Worship, which means that there's no oxygen left. So, over the past few years, with the direction from John, Darren, the Hillsborough watershed, and the city, work began to reduce silt entering the pond. Once that was completed, the pond was emptied and dredged back to its original depth. 5 springs were uncovered that continually feed the pond with fresh water. Right now, there's approximately 1,200 gallons of water going over the spillway every day, every hour. Sorry. The pond is now back to its natural state and is a fantastic asset for the city of Charlottetown residents who wish to walk the pathways through the woods around the pond, enjoy the many sights of nature, such as beavers at work. There's a beaver dam there. The bald eagles, they're nesting there now. Muskrats, Canada geese, many species of ducks, not to mention the many birds, squirrels, and rabbits throughout the walking trail. The recreation component will be appreciated also, as there are a couple of areas to launch kayak, canoe, and the pond has recently been stopped. This pond is also a very significant part of the city's stormwater control system, Your Worship. So again, I just want to thank John and Christine Andrews for donating this important asset to the city of Charlottetown.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you to John and Christine.
Christine, yeah.
Thanks. Any questions, concerns? Questions called?
Questions called.
That's it, sir.
That is, thank you.
Very much.
Julie?
Yeah, oh, easy. The Human Resources, Communications, and Administration Committee met on September 18th. We have no resolutions. The minutes are in your package, and if you have any questions, I'll do my best to try to answer them.
Councilor Twill?
Question? Thank you for your report, Councilor McCabe. Taking into consideration the number of people that are leaving the corporation, particularly, I think it was Councilor McLeod mentioned Beth Orr, and then a few months prior to that, it was
Eddie Pryor.
Eddie Pryor, with the city a long time. Maybe it's time for the city council to look at the organizational structure here, city's corporation. Try to get a handle on what the structure looks like, what each department has in terms of employees, whether it's senior administration or whether it's staff that are on the ground. So we better handle as to where we're headed as far as the city goes. Our infrastructure. I'm talking about employees, but more specifically, I think we need to have a look at the organizational chart. I think it'd be prudent on our part to have a look at that and see where the strengths are, where the weaknesses are, where we need to add, where we need to delete, and how that funnels into city council in the role that we play. And so we can better do our job representing our constituents. It's all part and parcel, it's all interrelated, it's all connected, and it'd be nice to get a handle on that and to see, maybe members of council here would like to make a contribution in terms of where we think we need to go in terms of the organizational structure. Again, reiterating where the strengths are, where the weaknesses are. I think it's imperative now because, you get the emails if someone's retiring or for whatever reason, and that's all well and good. But I think now is the time the council look at the organizational structure and to see what we need to do in terms of do we need more people in Terry McLeod's department, or does Parks and Recreation need more, or does Greg Rivard's department needs more? I mean, Councillor Duran talked earlier about more police officers, something that I always support, having more police officers on the ground. So we need to have a thorough discussion some night. Just take one item on the agenda, organizational chart. Where are we? Where do we need to go? How proactive are we? Thank you.
And don't forget Deputy CAO.
Pardon me?
We talked with Betty Pryor, Beth Orr, we replaced the Deputy CAO.
Right. But I mean, you know, Betty and Beth, I mean, they're fantastic employees. Just fantastic employees. I'll tell you, I know there were times there, poor Beth, I mean, I'd be making requests for her all day long about trees and wanting to take this down and that down, and must have drove her crazy sometimes, but I certainly appreciated all the work she did.
Just her?
Pardon me?
Just her? I'm sure there was others.
Hold, just a minute, just a minute, just a minute. No, just a minute. You know what? Whatever I do, you do it tenfold.
Thank you for your thoughts. We'll certainly bring that back to our committee level. I'm hoping once Councillor Yankoff gets a chance to lead us all with her strategic plan, and we know what the goals are for us as the city council in the next 3 years of our term, we'll be able to even look even more so at an organizational chart about what we need and where we need it. So we're excited to have that piece in too.
Councillor Bernard.
Yep, just want to congratulate the good councillor here. I don't know if anybody got their emails or not today, but the enhanced group insurance benefits. And so there's a couple of enhancements. One was the vaccine coverage up to $300 max per year. I think that's very smart. And there's hearing aid coverages. And they're up from, I don't know, $150 to $900. So if anybody's having a hard time hearing, they need some hearing aids. No, but actually, it's good incentive. It's good that somebody's thinking about the.
They do a good job in there at the department.
No resolutions?
No.
Okay.
Yes. No.
Another report.
Go back to sleep.
Sorry, 4 pages ahead. I want to go home.
Councillor McLeod
You got it.
from Ward 2.
Thank you very
Over
much.
there.
Council Advisory Committee met on October the 8th, and the draft open minutes are in your package. I have one resolution for your consideration, and any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Any questions? Councillor McKay.
Thank you, Councillor McLeod. One thing in your minutes, I understand that Samantha Murphy from Municipal Affairs was at your last meeting, trying to provide clarification to the committee around some of the interpretations of your MGA and stuff.
Right.
And I would like to request that maybe we could have something on a special meeting where we do have an opportunity to clarify some of the wording and some of the things that are in our MGA, you know, the operational versus procedural and stuff. For me personally, I think it would be great if we could have a operational definition for that, so we could be on the same page to what those terms mean, so that we can move forward again on some of that. If we could have that on an agenda, I'd appreciate it.
Councillor McLeod.
Thank you very much. Yes, one thing Samantha did suggest that there would be some development would be probably good for council, and that's exactly what it would be. It would be a chance to sit with them and just clarify something. We all have a few questions on the MGA, and that's kind of why we brought them in, just to see and then to bring it forward. Right? So move forward. We'll try and get that done. Where we'll have a session with Samantha for sure. Thank you.
So council, you have another, you have one resolution?
One resolution.
Sorry.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Cloud, seconded by Councillor Duffy, that the City Council accept the amended committee resident member stipend policy C-admin-1 as attached, effective immediately, Your Worship.
Okay. Councillor Twill.
Councillor McLeod, I don't know if you can help me with this, but back when this new council took office, there was a concern about the total amount that was paid out to the advisory committee resident members here in the city of Charlottetown. I think last year was $90,000. Can you give me a ballpark figure as to where we're at now in terms of how much we're actually paying out?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Twill. I don't have that figure with me here this evening. We have tightened it up tremendously. I would probably say it's more in the range of 50,000, but I will get back to you with a detailed report on that. And that was part of this change was to make sure that everybody understood that it's $100 a month and you have to be there. Those type of things, where some of that was ongoing for years, where it wasn't tightened up and people weren't showing up and they were still getting paid and all that. So we've managed to tighten that up tremendously, and I will get back to you though with those figures for sure. Thank you.
Councillor Bernard.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Just questions on the same line. I'm just wondering, because as Councillor Twill alluded to, we did have that conversation. I'm just wondering, how many of these committees that are out there that do not get a stipend? Or is there any? Do they all get stipend? Is there some that don't get any?
Food
I
council.
believe it's just the food council at this present time. It's the only one that does it.
Okay. Would you call the vote there, Counselor?
Well, right now, your worship, we got a question called. You have to call the vote.
Please vote.
First day in the job or what?
Councillor Twill, you vote.
Pardon me?
You vote.
Half of your,
Okay. There you go, sir. No new business, right? Oh, someone down.
I have,
You have something, sir?
I have an item of new business, I think it'd be under new business, your worship. I was advised today that on October 24th, which would be a week from this Thursday coming, a week before Halloween, there's a high-powered speaker coming to speak to the Tai Pai organization, the tourism organization,
Yes.
during their annual meeting. It'll be Thursday from 10:30 to 12:30. The high-powered speaker the topic is going to be short-term rentals.
Good.
It'll be very beneficial for those of us who have the time during that period of time. And it'd be also good that we have a good turnout from city council there to show that we mean business and we're serious about this and we search out information no matter where we can get it. I would suggest also that, seeing as we're not registered participants in the convention itself, maybe a small financial contribution to the organization by the city of Charlottetown on behalf of the people that may.
Oh, I think we're members of the chamber.
Yeah, but I think that we haven't registered as attendees at the conference. If there's any financial,
We'll take care of that.
yeah.
Is it one of the hosts or one of the, from the Dragon's Den? Is she not?
No.
No? What? Two are different
Yeah.
events. Do we know the speaker coming on the 24th?
I think it's someone, it's a lady from the Hotel Association.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll find out and we'll
Yeah.
send it out.
Okay.
And don't forget October 30th at the McDougal Hall is another presentation short-term rentals.
No, Griffin's Bird is gonna.
McDougal Hall.
That's when you sent the email.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was already sent out. We'll send out, thank you for that, Councilor Duffy. Motion to adjourn?
Right here,
All in favor? Thank you very much.
right on the 2 hours, your
Mike,
worship.
Mike, you have to register. You have to register through Tai Pai?
Oh,